In a world where kindness often goes unnoticed, young Timmy Johnson was about to prove that even the smallest act of compassion can spark a revolution. At just 11 years old, with a mop of unruly brown hair and a smile that could light up a room, Timmy was an ordinary boy by most accounts. But beneath his cheerful exterior beat the heart of a true hero, one who was about to change his community forever. On a seemingly ordinary day, as Timmy and his mother Karen settled into their favorite corner of the local cafe, neither of them could have imagined how their lives were about to transform. Little did Timmy know that his simple decision to stand up for what was right would set in motion a chain of events that would not only impact his own future but touch the lives of countless others. As the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air and the familiar chatter of the cafe hummed around them, Timmy was blissfully unaware that he was about to face a moment that would define his character and shape his destiny. The stage was set for an extraordinary tale of bravery, kindness, and the incredible power of one small voice to make a big difference. The bell above the door chimed softly as Timmy and Karen stepped into their favorite cafe. Instantly enveloped by the warm, inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, their spirits lifted. Timmy's eyes sparkled with delight as he took in the familiar sights and sounds of the bustling little spot. "Can we sit by the window, Mom?" Timmy asked, his voice brimming with excitement. Karen's heart swelled with affection as she smiled at her son. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's find a cozy spot." Navigating through the cafe, they passed tables full of locals chatting animatedly, the friendly hum of conversation filling the air. Sunlight streamed through the large front windows, casting a warm glow on the worn wooden floor. As they settled into their favorite corner table, Timmy couldn't help but notice how his mother's shoulders seemed to relax, the stress from her long week melting away. He reached across the table, gently squeezing her hand. "I'm so glad we came here today, Mom," he said softly, his sincerity evident in his voice. Karen's eyes crinkled at the corners as she returned his smile. "Me too, darling. This place always makes everything seem better, doesn't it?" The waitress, a kind older woman named Betty, approached their table with a warm smile. "Well, if it isn't my favorite duo. What can I get for you today?" Timmy's face lit up. "Hi, Miss Betty. Can I have a hot chocolate, please, with extra whipped cream?" Betty chuckled, her eyes twinkling. "You've got it, young man. And for you, Karen?" "Just a regular coffee for me, thank you," Karen replied with a grateful smile. As Betty walked away to fetch their drinks, Timmy's gaze wandered around the cafe he loved, observing the different people who came here. Families, friends, and even individuals lost in their books or laptops. It made him feel like he was part of something larger, a community rich with stories and laughter. Karen watched her son with a heart full of pride and love. Despite all the challenges they had faced, Timmy had grown into such a thoughtful and caring boy. She reached out and affectionately tousled his hair. "What are you thinking about, dear?" she asked, noticing the contemplative look on his face. Timmy turned to her, his eyes glowing with warmth. "I was thinking about how lucky we are, Mom, to have each other in this special place." Karen felt tears well up in her eyes. "Oh, Timmy," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "We are lucky. So very lucky." As Karen and Timmy settled into their cozy corner, Betty returned with their drinks. The rich aroma of coffee and the sweet scent of hot chocolate filled the air around them. "Here you go," Betty said warmly, setting their drinks on the table. "Ready to order your usual?" Karen nodded with a smile. "Yes, please. I'd like the veggie omelet with whole wheat toast. And for me, could I have the blueberry pancakes?" Timmy asked politely, his eyes shining with anticipation. Betty noted their orders with a nod before stepping away. As Karen and Timmy settled into their familiar routine, the cafe seemed to wrap them in a comforting embrace. Their shared moments there a testament to the simple joys that made life so meaningful. The bell above the cafe door chimed again. Timmy's gaze was drawn to the entrance, where a visibly pregnant black woman had just walked in. She looked exhausted, her hand resting on her swollen belly as she scanned the busy cafe. Timmy watched her with a mixture of curiosity and concern, noticing how she shivered slightly as she took a step forward, clearly uncomfortable. "Mom," Timmy whispered gently, tugging at Karen's sleeve, "look at that lady. She looks like she could use some help." Karen followed Timmy's gaze, her expression softening as she took in the sight of the pregnant woman. "You're right, dear. She does seem like she could use a hand." The woman, Lisa, was near the entrance, appearing uncertain as she searched for an empty table among the crowd. Timmy's compassionate heart went out to her, seeing how no one else seemed to notice her discomfort. Without hesitation, he stood up from his chair. "Mom, can we invite her to sit with us? There's plenty of room at our table." Karen's eyes filled with pride at her son's thoughtfulness. "That's a wonderful idea, Timmy. Why don't you go ask her? Timmy nodded and made his way across the cafe, his steps cautious but determined. He approached Lisa with a warm smile. "Excuse me, ma'am," Timmy said politely, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "My mom and I noticed you looking for a place to sit. Would you like to join us at our table? We have extra chairs." Lisa looked at Timmy, her face a mix of surprise and gratitude. She hadn't expected such kindness from a boy in a crowded cafe. "That's very kind of you," Lisa said, her voice tinged with emotion. "Are you sure it wouldn't be a bother?" Timmy shook his head emphatically. "Not at all. We'd be happy to have you. Please come sit and rest." As Timmy led Lisa back to their table, Karen rose with a warm smile, pulling out a chair for their new guest. Lisa sat down with a sigh of relief. "Thank you so much," Lisa said, her eyes brimming with gratitude. "I really appreciate your kindness." Karen nodded, smiling back. "It's our pleasure. I'm Karen and this is my son, Timmy." Timmy beamed with pride, pleased to have been able to help. "Can we get you something to drink, ma'am?" Before Lisa could respond, a loud, gravelly voice cut through the pleasant cafe chatter. "What's going on here?" Heads turned to see Mr. Anderson, a regular known for his sour demeanor, glaring at their table. His face was twisted into a scowl as he pointed an accusing finger at Lisa. "We don't need your kind here," he spat, his words dripping with venom. "Go back where you came from." The cafe fell silent, the air thick with tension. Lisa's shoulders tensed, her hand instinctively moving to protect her unborn child. Timmy's eyes widened in shock and confusion. Karen stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Mr. Anderson, that is completely unnecessary," Karen said, her voice trembling with rage. But Mr. Anderson wasn't finished. He continued his tirade, each word more hateful than the last. "This used to be a nice place before they started letting anyone in. Look at it now." Other customers fidgeted uncomfortably in their seats, some averting their eyes while others watched the scene unfold with a mixture of horror and disbelief. Timmy's young heart raced as he struggled to comprehend why this man was being so cruel. He glanced at Lisa and saw the pain etched on her face, the way she seemed to shrink under Mr. Anderson's harsh words. Betty, the waitress, rushed over, trying to defuse the situation. "Mr. Anderson, that's enough. We don't tolerate that kind of talk here," she said firmly. But Mr. Anderson wasn't silenced. He continued to berate Lisa, his voice growing louder. "She doesn't belong here. Can't you see?" The cafe was completely still, the only sound being the harsh echo of Mr. Anderson's words. Lisa sat frozen, her eyes downcast, trying to make herself as small as possible in the face of such blatant hatred. Timmy's heart pounded as he watched the scene unfold, his gaze darting from Lisa's pained expression to Mr. Anderson's angry face, and then to the other patrons who sat in uncomfortable silence. A surge of confusion and anger bubbled inside Timmy. He couldn't understand why anyone would be so cruel to another person, especially someone who was expecting a baby. As the tension in the cafe mounted, Timmy looked at his mother, his eyes wide with uncertainty. Karen met her son's gaze, her face a picture of calm determination. She gave him a small, encouraging nod, her eyes filled with pride and support. Timmy understood the silent message his mother had always taught him: to stand up for what is right, to be kind to others, and to help those in need. He knew she was telling him that it was okay to act on the sense of justice stirring in his heart. Taking a deep breath, Timmy squared his small shoulders. Though he was frightened, the lessons from his mother gave him courage. With trembling hands, he reached out and gently touched Lisa's arm. "Don't listen to him, ma'am," Timmy said, his voice trembling but growing stronger with each word. "You belong here just as much as anyone else." Lisa turned to look at the brave little boy, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. A small, grateful smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. Encouraged by her smile, Timmy stood up from his chair, his legs wobbling but his resolve firm. He faced Mr. Anderson, and the cafe seemed to hold its breath as the boy spoke. "Mr. Anderson," Timmy said, his voice clear despite his nervousness, "my mom always says that everyone deserves kindness and respect. What you're saying isn't kind or respectful at all." Timmy's heart raced as he stood tall, his small body trembling slightly. The cafe fell silent, all eyes fixed on the courageous boy. Mr. Anderson's face twisted in a mixture of surprise and anger, his mouth agape as he stared at Timmy. "Mr. Anderson," Timmy continued, his voice steady and firm despite his fear, "please stop being mean to this lady. She hasn't done anything wrong." Mr. Anderson's face flushed red, his fists clenched at his sides. "Listen here, kid," he began, but Timmy cut him off. "No, you listen," Timmy said, surprising himself with his boldness. My mom always says we should treat others the way we want to be treated. Would you like someone saying mean things to you? The cafe remained hushed, the air thick with tension. Karen watched her son with pride shining in her eyes, while Lisa looked on in astonishment. Timmy took a deep breath and continued. This lady is going to have a baby. She needs kindness, not cruelty. Please, Mr. Anderson, leave her alone. Mr. Anderson's face cycled through a range of emotions: anger, confusion, and finally a hint of shame. He opened his mouth to speak but no words came out. Timmy's voice softened but remained firm. My mom also says it's never too late to be kind. Maybe you could try that instead. The young boy's words hung in the air, his simple wisdom touching everyone in the cafe. Even Mr. Anderson seemed affected, his expression slowly melting from one of anger to uncertainty. Timmy held his ground, his gaze locked with Mr. Anderson's, the bravery of the boy palpable. Gradually, other customers began to murmur their support, nodding and whispering in agreement with Timmy's words. The entire cafe fell silent, all eyes fixed on Timmy. The young boy's words lingered in the air, his simple wisdom touching everyone present. Even Mr. Anderson appeared affected, his expression of anger slowly melting into one of uncertainty. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the soft hum of the coffee machines in the background. Timmy stood firm, his small body somehow appearing larger in the face of injustice. His eyes remained locked on Mr. Anderson's, unwavering in their conviction. Mr. Anderson's face cycled through various emotions: anger, confusion, and finally, a flicker of shame. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The man who had been so vocal moments ago now found himself at a loss. The tension in the air was palpable as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Some customers held their breath, while others nodded in silent agreement with Timmy's words. Finally, Mr. Anderson broke eye contact with Timmy, his gaze darting around the cafe and meeting the disapproving looks from other patrons. His face turned red, but this time it wasn't from anger, it was from embarrassment. Muttering under his breath, Mr. Anderson grabbed his coat from the back of his chair, avoiding eye contact with anyone as he hurriedly made his way to the exit. The bell above the door jingled as he pushed it open and stepped out into the street, leaving behind a cafe full of stunned onlookers. As the door closed behind Mr. Anderson, a collective sigh of relief seemed to sweep through the cafe. The tension that had been building dissipated, replaced by a sense of awe at what they had just witnessed. With the door closed, Lisa slowly rose from her seat. Her eyes sparkled with unshed tears and she took a deep breath, one hand resting on her swollen belly as she walked toward Timmy and Karen's table. The cafe remained quiet, the silence broken only by the soft sound of Lisa's footsteps as she approached. Timmy looked at her, his young face a blend of concern and determination. "Thank you," Lisa said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you so much." She extended her hand and gently touched Timmy's shoulder, her gratitude evident in every gesture. Karen smiled warmly at Lisa, her eyes filled with pride as she looked at her son. "It was the right thing to do," she said simply. Lisa nodded, wiping away a tear that had escaped. "Your son is incredibly brave," she told Karen. "Few adults would have done what he did." Timmy blushed at the praise, staring at his hands. "I just didn't like seeing you treated that way," he murmured, his voice almost a whisper. Lisa knelt beside Timmy, meeting his gaze. "What you did means more than you can imagine," she said sincerely. "You stood up for what is right and that takes true courage." As if on cue, the cafe erupted in applause. The other customers who had watched the scene unfold began clapping and cheering for Timmy. The sound filled the small space, a chorus of approval for the brave young boy. Timmy's eyes widened in surprise as he looked around the cafe. People were smiling at him, nodding in respect, and some even stood up. The applause grew louder. Karen wrapped her arm around Timmy's shoulders, her pride radiating. "You did great, Timmy," she whispered, kissing the top of his head. The applause continued, with Timmy waving shyly. He felt a warmth spread through his chest, a mix of embarrassment and happiness. He hadn't acted to become a hero or to draw attention. He simply did what he believed was right. Lisa stood up, joining in the applause with tears of gratitude and admiration shining in her eyes for the young boy who had defended her when no one else did. As the clapping subsided, she pulled up a chair to join Timmy and Karen at their table. The cafe slowly returned to its usual hum of conversation, but a newfound warmth lingered in the air. "I hope you don't mind if I join you," Lisa said softly, her voice filled with appreciation. "I'd love to thank you properly." Karen smiled warmly. "Of course, please have a seat. I'm Karen and this is my son, Timmy." Lisa settled into the chair, her hand resting on her belly. It's wonderful to meet both of you. I'm Lisa. She paused, taking a deep breath. What happened today isn't the first time I've faced something like this. Timmy's eyes widened, his young face etched with concern as he leaned forward, listening intently. Lisa continued, her voice steady but tinged with sadness. I've dealt with prejudice all my life. Being a black woman in this city hasn't always been easy, and now being pregnant and single, well, some people are quick to judge. Karen reached out gently, patting Lisa's hand. I'm so sorry you've had to go through that. No one should have to face such treatment. Lisa nodded with a small smile, pulling her lip between her teeth. It's been tough, but I'm determined to give my baby the best life possible. I worked 2 jobs trying to save up for when the little one arrives. Timmy, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. That's really brave of you, Miss Lisa, he said sincerely. You're working so hard for your baby. Lisa's eyes softened as she looked at Timmy. Thank you, dear. That means a lot to hear. She glanced between Timmy and Karen. You know, seeing how the two of you interact gives me hope. Hope that I can raise my child to be as kind and courageous as Timmy. Karen smiled with pride, wrapping an arm around Timmy's shoulders. It hasn't always been easy being a single mother, but moments like today remind me that we're doing well. As Lisa continued sharing her life, her struggles, and her hopes for the future, Timmy listened with deep empathy, feeling a profound connection to her story. His young heart was touched by the challenges she faced. When the conversation drew to a close, Lisa looked at the clock. Oh my, I've taken up so much of your time. I should get going, she said, her voice tinged with reluctance. Karen shook her head, smiling warmly. Not at all. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Lisa. Timmy nodded enthusiastically. Yes, Miss Lisa, I'm really glad we met you. Lisa's eyes filled with tears, moved by the genuine kindness of this mother and son. She fished out a small notebook and a pen from her bag. I'd love to stay in touch if that's okay. Maybe we could have coffee again someday? That would be wonderful, Karen replied, taking the notebook and jotting down her phone number and email address. She tore out the page and handed it to Lisa. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Lisa carefully put the paper in her bag, then scribbled her contact information for Karen. As she stood up, she placed a gentle hand on Timmy's shoulder. Thank you again, Timmy. What you did today means more than you can imagine. Timmy smiled up at her, his chest swelling with pride. I'm happy I could help, Miss Lisa. As Lisa made her way to the cafe door, she turned one last time, waving to Timmy and Karen. The bell above the door tinkled as she stepped into the morning sunlight. Timmy watched her go, a feeling of accomplishment washing over him. He had stood up for what was right and made a new friend in the process. His mother's earlier words echoed in his mind, reminding him of the importance of kindness and bravery. Karen squeezed Timmy's hand, her eyes shining with pride. You did so well today, sweetheart. Very well. Timmy beamed, feeling a warm glow in his chest. He knew his small act of courage had made a difference, and that feeling was better than any reward he could imagine. As Timmy and Karen walked home, the events of the morning replayed in Timmy's mind. The afternoon sun cast long shadows on the sidewalk, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves above. Timmy walked with a new spring in his step, his hand firmly clasped with his mother's. Mom, Timmy said, breaking the comfortable silence between them, do you think we did the right thing today? Karen squeezed his hand reassuringly. Absolutely, dear. Standing up for others is always the right thing to do. Timmy nodded with a small, shy smile, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. I felt scared at first, he admitted, but then I remembered what you always tell me about being brave. You were incredibly brave, Karen said, her voice brimming with pride. I couldn't be prouder of you, Timmy. As they turned onto their street, Timmy's thoughts drifted back to Lisa. He wondered how she was doing and if she had made it home safely. A part of him hoped they would see her again soon. Arriving at their modest home, Karen unlocked the front door and they stepped inside. Timmy kicked off his shoes and collapsed onto the living room sofa, releasing a deep sigh of contentment. You know, Mom, he said, gazing up at the ceiling, I feel really good about what happened today. Like I actually made a difference. Karen sat down beside him, her fingers gently running through his hair. You did make a difference, Timmy. You showed Lisa that there are good people in this world who stand up for what's right. Timmy sat up, his eyes shining with excitement. Do you think we'll see her again? Maybe we could invite her over for dinner sometime. Karen chuckled at her son's enthusiasm. That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart. We'll call her in a few days and see if she'd like to come over. As the afternoon passed, Timmy replayed the events of the morning in his mind, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. His small act of courage had brightened someone's day, and while he looked forward to seeing Lisa again, he realized the most important thing was to continue being kind and brave, regardless of who was watching. The next morning, the sun streamed through Timmy's bedroom window, gently waking him from his sleep. He rubbed his eyes and stretched, noticing something unusual on his nightstand. There, propped up against his alarm clock, was an ornate envelope. Made of thick, creamy paper adorned with delicate golden swirls. It had Timmy's name written on the front in elegant, flowing script. His heart raced with excitement. With trembling fingers, he carefully opened the envelope, trying not to tear it. Inside, he found a beautifully illustrated card that read, "Dear Timmy, you are cordially invited to a special event at Le Jardin tonight at 7 p.m. Your act of kindness has not gone unnoticed, and we would be honored if you and your mother could join us for a celebration of compassion and bravery. Please dress elegantly. No need to RSVP. We look forward to your arrival." Timmy's eyes widened in disbelief. He had never been invited to such an exclusive place before. Le Jardin was the fanciest restaurant in town, a place he had only ever seen from the outside. "Mom? Mom!" he shouted, leaping out of bed and running to the kitchen where Karen was preparing breakfast. "What is it, dear?" Karen asked, her voice laced with concern at Timmy's urgency. Timmy thrust the invitation into her hands, bouncing on the balls of his feet as she read. "Can we go, Mom? Please?" Karen's expression shifted from confusion to surprise and then to a warm smile. "Of course we can go, Timmy. This is a great honor." As the reality of the invitation sank in, Timmy felt a mix of excitement and nerves. He had never been to a fancy restaurant before and worried about making mistakes, like using the wrong fork or spilling something on his clothes. "Mom," he said, his voice suddenly quiet, "what if I mess up? What if I embarrass myself?" Karen knelt down to his level, placing her hands gently on his shoulders. "Timmy, remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being yourself, the brave boy who stood up for what's right. That's why you're being honored." Karen glanced at the invitation once more, her brow furrowing slightly as she was touched by the gesture. She couldn't shake a twinge of caution. After all, they didn't know who had sent it. "Timmy, dear," she said gently, "I think we should verify if this invitation is real before we get too excited." Timmy's face fell slightly, but he nodded, understanding his mother's concern. Karen picked up the phone and dialed the number printed on the bottom of the invitation. After a few rings, a warm, professional voice answered. "Le Jardin, how may I assist you?" Karen took a deep breath. "Hello, my name is Karen. My son, Timmy, and I received an invitation to an event at your restaurant this evening. I was wondering if you could confirm whether it's legitimate." There was a brief pause, and then the voice responded enthusiastically, "Oh yes, Karen and Timmy. We've been eagerly awaiting your call. The invitation is absolutely genuine, and we're thrilled that you reached out." Karen felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Could you tell me a bit more about the event?" The representative's voice grew even warmer. "Certainly. It's a special celebration honoring acts of kindness and bravery within our community. Your son's actions at the cafe did not go unnoticed, and we would be honored to have both of you join us." As Karen listened to the details, she couldn't help but smile. She glanced at Timmy, who was watching her with wide, hopeful eyes. "Thank you so much for the information," Karen said. "We look forward to attending." As she hung up the phone, Timmy could barely contain himself. "Mom, it's real. We can go." Karen nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's real, dear. We're going to Le Jardin tonight." Timmy let out a joyous shout, bouncing up and down. "This is going to be amazing." In front of the bedroom mirror, Timmy struggled with the buttons of his best dress shirt. His tiny fingers fumbled as he tried to make himself presentable. The shirt was pristine and white, a stark contrast to his usual t-shirts and jeans. His face crinkled in concentration. "Mom," he called, his voice a blend of excitement and frustration. "I can't button these." Karen appeared at the door, already dressed in a simple yet elegant blue dress. Her eyes softened as she saw her son struggling with his shirt. "Here, let me help you, dear," she said, kneeling beside him and carefully buttoning his shirt. She couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. "You look so handsome, Timmy, like a little gentleman." Timmy beamed at the compliment, his earlier frustration forgotten. "Do you think they'll have fancy food at the restaurant, Mom?" he asked, his eyes wide with wonder. Karen chuckled softly. "I'm sure they will, but remember, it's not about the food. It's about celebrating kindness and bravery, your kindness and bravery." As they finished preparing, a swirl of emotions stirred in their hearts. Excitement bubbled up at the thought of attending such a special event, but there was also a hint of nerves. After all, Le Jardin was the most upscale restaurant in town, a place they had only admired from afar. "Are you ready, Timmy?" Karen asked, grabbing her purse and the car keys. Timmy nodded, taking a deep breath. "I think so, Mom. I'm a little nervous but also really excited." Karen smiled warmly, reaching out to take his hand. "That's okay, dear. I'm a bit nervous too, but we'll be there together and that's what matters." Hand in hand, they walked to their old but well-cared-for car. As they drove through the city, the streets gradually became more sophisticated, and soon the gleaming facade of Le Jardin appeared. Timmy's eyes widened as he took in the sight. The entrance was adorned with twinkling lights, and elegantly dressed people were entering. It looked like something out of a fairy tale. "Wow," Timmy breathed, his voice almost a whisper. Karen squeezed his hand reassuringly as they got out of the car. "Remember, Timmy, you deserve to be here. What you did was brave and kind, and that's what tonight is all about." Taking a deep breath, mother and son walked toward the entrance, ready to experience an evening unlike any they had ever known. When Timmy and Karen stepped into Le Jardin, they were immediately enveloped by an aura of elegance. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the soft murmur of conversations filled the air. An elegantly dressed host greeted them with a warm smile. "Good evening. You must be Timmy and Karen," he said in a smooth, welcoming voice. "We've been expecting you. Please follow me." Timmy's eyes darted around, taking in the plush carpets and ornate decorations. He gripped his mother's hand tightly, feeling a bit overwhelmed by the grandeur. Karen too felt a bit out of place but put on a brave face for her son's sake. The host guided them through the main dining area, where patrons in fine attire enjoyed their meals. Timmy couldn't help but notice how different it was from their usual family restaurants. As they approached a door at the far end of the room, the host turned to them with a smile. "Your private dining room awaits," he said, opening the door with a flourish. Timmy and Karen walked in and their jaws dropped. The room was beautifully decorated with flowers and soft lighting, but what truly caught their attention was the figure waiting by an elegantly set table, Lisa. She wore a stunning emerald green dress that highlighted her pregnant belly, and her face lit up with a radiant smile as she saw them enter. "Timmy? Karen," Lisa exclaimed, her voice brimming with warmth. "I'm so happy you could make it." Timmy's eyes widened in shock. "Lisa?" he said, his voice a mix of surprise and excitement. "What are you doing here?" Karen, equally stunned, managed to find her voice. "We had no idea you'd be here. This is such a surprise." Lisa's eyes sparkled with mischief and joy. "Well, I couldn't miss the chance to properly thank the brave young man who stood up for me, could I?" She moved towards them with graceful steps despite her condition. "You two are in for a special evening." Lisa gestured for Timmy and Karen to sit at the plush chairs around the table. As they settled in, Lisa took her place across from them, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "I have a confession to make," Lisa began, her voice gentle yet purposeful. "I'm not just a regular cafe patron. In fact, I own the cafe." Timmy's eyes widened in surprise and Karen let out a small gasp. Lisa's smile grew wider. "But that's not all. I'm also a philanthropist, and I have considerable wealth that I use to help others." Timmy tilted his head, trying to understand. "But why were you pretending to be someone else?" he asked innocently. Lisa leaned forward, her expression warm and understanding. "You see, Timmy, I often go incognito to see how people truly treat one another. It's my way of finding genuine kindness in the world." Karen nodded slowly, starting to grasp the situation. "So, on that day at the cafe?" "Yes," Lisa confirmed. "I was there to observe, to see if anyone would stand up against injustice. And you too," she paused, her eyes filling with emotion. "You both showed me the kind of courage and compassion I was searching for." Timmy's cheeks flushed with pride, though he still felt a bit confused. "But why do you do this?" he asked. Lisa's expression grew thoughtful. "I've faced my share of prejudice in life, Timmy. It made me want to make a difference, to find and reward kindness wherever I could. What you did that day, standing up to Mr. Anderson, wasn't just brave, it was a beacon of hope. It showed me that there are still good people in this world, willing to stand up for what's right." Karen wiped a tear from her eye, overwhelmed by Lisa's words and the significance of what was happening. "We had no idea," she said softly. Lisa smiled warmly at both of them. "That's the beauty of it. Your kindness was genuine, not because you thought you'd gain something, but because it was the right thing to do." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "Timmy, Karen, what you did that day touched my heart more than you could ever imagine. It's rare to find such genuine kindness and bravery, especially in a world that can sometimes seem so cold." Timmy listened intently, his young face a mix of pride and admiration. Karen reached out and held his hand, her own eyes brimming with tears of joy and love for her son. Lisa continued, her gaze moving between mother and son. You reminded me why I started this mission in the first place. To find and celebrate those who make the world a better place, one small act at a time. She paused, taking a deep breath before she continued. That's why I invited you here today, Lisa began, her voice resonating with warmth and gravity. I want to reward both of you for your bravery and compassion. Timmy's eyes widened in astonishment. Reward us? He asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Lisa nodded, a warm smile spreading across her face. Yes, Timmy. What you've done truly deserves recognition. It's not just about standing up to Mr. Anderson, but about the positive impact your actions can have on our community. She turned to Karen, acknowledging the vital role she had played. And you, Karen, your values, the kindness you've instilled in Timmy, the way you've raised him to be such a thoughtful person, that deserves recognition too. Karen blushed, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. We didn't need a reward, she said softly. We just did what we felt was right. Lisa reached out gently, giving Karen's hand a reassuring pat. I know you didn't seek this, and that's exactly why you deserve it. Your humility and genuine kindness are rare and precious. Timmy looked from his mother to Lisa, curiosity piqued. What kind of reward? He asked. Lisa's smile widened further. Well, that's what I wanted to discuss with you both. I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. After all, the best rewards are those that truly make a difference in people's lives. Lisa reached into her bag and pulled out an elegant envelope, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She handed it to Timmy, who took it with trembling hands. Go ahead, open it, Lisa encouraged softly. Timmy carefully opened the envelope, his small fingers handling it with anticipation. He pulled out a formal-looking document and began to read, his brow furrowing in concentration. Karen leaned in, her own curiosity getting the best of her. As they both absorbed the contents, their eyes widened in disbelief. This is real, Karen whispered, her voice choked with emotion. Lisa nodded, her smile radiating warmth and sincerity. Yes, it's real. Timmy, I'm setting up a scholarship fund for your education. This means that when you're ready for college or any other educational path you choose, you won't have to worry about how to pay for it. Timmy looked up from the document, his eyes shining with a mix of gratitude and awe. But why? He asked, his young mind struggling to grasp the magnitude of this gift. Lisa leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. Because, Timmy, kindness and bravery like yours need to be nurtured. I want to make sure you have every opportunity to grow, learn, and continue making this world a better place. Karen wiped a tear from her face, deeply moved by Lisa's generosity. This is overwhelming, she murmured, shaking her head in disbelief. It's not overwhelming, Lisa assured her. It's an investment in a brighter future, not just for you, Timmy, but for everyone whose lives you'll touch as you grow. Timmy looked back at the document, then at his mother and finally at Lisa. His voice, though soft, was filled with determination as he said, Thank you, Ms. Lisa. I promise I'll work hard and make you proud. Lisa's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Oh, Timmy, she said softly, you've already made me proud. This is just to ensure you can keep following your heart and standing up for what's right, no matter where life takes you. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she turned to Karen. And that's not all, she said warmly. Karen, I have an offer for you as well. Karen blinked in surprise, her hand instinctively resting on Timmy's shoulder. For me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Lisa nodded, her smile growing wider. Yes, for you. I've been incredibly impressed by how you've raised Timmy. Your guidance and values are clearly reflected in his actions. I'd like to offer you a position with my organization. Karen's eyes widened and she leaned forward slightly, hanging on every word. We work to help those in need, Lisa continued, her tone sincere. People who face discrimination, poverty, and other challenges. I believe your compassion and strength would be invaluable to our team. Karen's lips parted in shock as she looked at Timmy, who was beaming at her. Turning back to Lisa, her eyes filled with tears, she stammered, I don't know what to say. I'm overwhelmed by this unexpected offer. Lisa gently placed her hand over Karen's, offering a reassuring squeeze. You don't need to decide right now, she said softly. But I want you to know that this opportunity is here for you if you want it. Karen took a deep breath, trying to calm her emotions. She looked at Timmy and then back at Lisa, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief etched on her face. This is more than I could have ever imagined, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Timmy squeezed his mother's hand, his eyes shining with pride and excitement. "Mom, you'd be amazing at helping people," he exclaimed. Karen chuckled softly, wiping away a stray tear from her cheek. She took another deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and a newfound resolution settled on her features. "Lisa, I would be honored to accept your offer," she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. Lisa's face lit up with joy. "Wonderful," she exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "I'm so thrilled to have you with us, Karen. Together, we can make a real difference in people's lives." Karen nodded, her chest vibrating with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for everything. I promise I'll work hard and do my best to help others." As the sun rose on a new day, Timmy's story of bravery and the incredible surprise that followed began to ripple through their small community. Word spread like wildfire, carried by the winds of gossip and admiration. The first knock on their door came early that morning. It was Mrs. Wilson from next door, her arms laden with a freshly baked apple pie. "I heard what happened," she said, her eyes glowing with pride. "You two are simply amazing." Karen blushed, accepting the pie with a grateful smile. Timmy peeked out from behind his mother, his face radiating a blend of shyness and joy. Throughout the day, a steady stream of visitors came to their modest home. Some brought small gifts, others simply wanted to shake their hands and offer congratulations. The Petersons from down the street delivered a handmade card signed by all the neighborhood children. Mr. Garcia, the retired teacher, stopped by with tears in his eyes, telling Timmy how proud he was of his former student. The phone rang incessantly with friends and distant relatives calling to express their joy and admiration. Karen's sister called from 3 states away, her voice trembling with emotion as she told Karen how proud she was. Even at the local grocery store, people stopped Karen and Timmy in the aisles to give them pats on the back and offer kind words. The cashier gave them a discount with a wink, calling them our local heroes. As night fell, Timmy sat on the porch steps watching the sunset. He felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the weather. Karen joined him, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. "How are you feeling, dear?" she asked softly. Timmy looked up at her, his eyes sparkling. "I feel good, Mom. But I didn't do it for all this attention. I just wanted to help." Karen hugged him tighter, her heart swelling with pride. "I know, sweetheart. That's what makes you so special. You did the right thing simply because it was right." In the days that followed, Timmy's act of kindness continued to inspire the community. His story spread everywhere, touching hearts and sparking conversations about bravery and compassion. One morning, as Timmy sat at the breakfast table, Karen took a phone call from the school principal. Her eyes widened as she listened, and a smile spread across her face. "Timmy," she said, hanging up the phone, "the principal wants you to speak at a special assembly. They want you to talk about standing up against injustice." Timmy's spoon clattered into his cereal bowl. "Speak in front of the whole school?" His voice trembled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Karen knelt beside him, her eyes full of love and pride. "You can do it, dear. Your story is important and it can help other kids learn to be brave too." In the days leading up to the assembly, Timmy worked on his speech. He practiced in front of the mirror, in the yard, and even for his stuffed animals. Karen helped him find the right words, reminding him to speak from the heart. On the day of the assembly, Timmy stood backstage, his hands trembling slightly. He peeked out at the sea of faces filling the auditorium. There were students, teachers, and even some parents. He spotted Lisa in the crowd, giving him a reassuring smile. The principal introduced Timmy, calling him a local hero and an inspiration to us all. As Timmy walked to the microphone, the room erupted in applause. Taking a deep breath, Timmy began to speak. His voice, though soft at first, grew stronger with every word. He recounted the events of that day at the cafe, describing what it felt like to see someone being treated unjustly. "I was scared," he admitted, "but I knew I had to do something. My mom always taught me that it's important to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard." As Timmy spoke, he saw heads nodding and eyes glistening in the audience. He talked about how a small act of kindness could make a big difference and how everyone has the power to stand up against injustice. "We can all be heroes," Timmy concluded, his voice clear and true. "All we have to do is be kind and brave." The auditorium burst into thunderous applause. Students and teachers stood, cheering for Timmy. As he looked out at the crowd, Timmy felt a warmth spread through his chest. He realized that his simple act of kindness had sparked something much bigger than himself. As the weeks unfolded, Timmy and Karen gradually adapted to their new routines. The changes brought into their lives by that fateful day at the cafe were both exhilarating and a bit overwhelming. On Karen's first day at Lisa's organization, she woke up early, buzzing with nervous energy. She donned her carefully chosen work attire, ready for her new role. As she prepared breakfast, Timmy shuffled into the kitchen, still rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "Are you ready for your big day, Mom?" he asked, wrapping her in a sleepy hug. Karen's eyes sparkled with a blend of excitement and trepidation. "I think so, sweetheart. It's a big change, but I'm looking forward to it." After dropping Timmy off at school, Karen drove to the organization's office. The building was modern and inviting, with large windows that bathed the interior in warm sunlight. As she walked through the doors, Lisa greeted her warmly. "Welcome, Karen. We're thrilled to have you on board," Lisa said, guiding her through the office. Karen's new role involved coordinating outreach programs for underprivileged families in their community. She spent her days engaging with those in need, connecting them with resources, and developing new initiatives to make a meaningful impact. The work was challenging at first. Karen had to master new skills and navigate complex situations, but with each passing day she grew more confident and fulfilled. Every evening she returned home with stories of the people she had helped and the lives she had touched. Timmy eagerly listened, sitting at the kitchen table with his homework as Karen prepared dinner and shared her experiences. "Today, we helped a single father find affordable daycare so he could get back to work," she'd say, or, "We organized a food drive for a family struggling to make ends meet." Timmy listened intently, his eyes wide with admiration. "You're like a superhero, Mom," he would say, causing Karen to laugh and touzle his hair affectionately. As days turned into weeks, Karen thrived in her new role. Each morning she awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, eager to tackle the day's challenges. Although the job was demanding, the joy of helping others made it all worthwhile. As the weeks passed, Timmy's life at school began to transform. Lisa's scholarship opened up new possibilities for him, and he felt a refreshed sense of purpose in his studies. Every morning he woke up excited to learn, his backpack brimming with books and his mind eager to explore. In class, Timmy's hand shot up more frequently, his answers coming with increasing confidence. His teachers noticed the change, praising his greater participation and improved grades. During lunch breaks, Timmy would sit with his friends, eagerly sharing what he had learned that day. "Did you know there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the Earth's beaches?" he'd say, his eyes wide with wonder. His friends listened, captivated by his newfound knowledge and enthusiasm. Timmy's passion for learning was infectious, and soon his classmates were asking him for help with their homework. Karen watched her son's transformation with pride. She often found him curled up on the couch, nose buried in a book about space history or science. When she asked about his day, Timmy would launch into detailed explanations of what he had learned, his words bubbling with excitement. "Mom, today we learned about the water cycle," he'd say, his hands gesturing animatedly. "It's amazing how water travels all over the world, from the oceans to the clouds, to the rain and back again." Karen listened, her heart swelling with joy at her son's enthusiasm. She knew that Lisa's generosity had given Timmy more than just financial support. It had given him the confidence to dream big. One night, as they sat at the dinner table, Timmy looked up from his plate with a serious expression. "Mom," he said, his voice filled with determination, "I want to be like Lisa when I grow up. I want to help people and make a difference in the world." Karen reached across the table, taking his hand gently. "You're already a hero, sweetheart," she said softly. "Every day you're becoming a kind, smart, and brave young man. I'm so proud of you." Timmy smiled at his mother's words, feeling a warm glow of pride and purpose. With his scholarship, his mother's love, and his own determination, he knew he could achieve anything. He looked ahead to the future, full of possibilities, and eagerly anticipated the adventures that lay ahead. As the months went by, Lisa became a regular presence in Timmy and Karen's lives. Her sleek car would pull up to their modest home every few weekends, bringing with it promises of laughter, warmth, and new experiences. At first, Timmy and Karen felt a bit nervous around Lisa, unsure how to act around someone so wealthy and influential. But Lisa's down-to-earth nature quickly put them at ease. She'd show up in jeans and a t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun, ready for whatever adventure the day might bring. "So, what's the plan today, team?" Lisa would ask, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Sometimes they'd have picnics in the park, other times they'd explore local museums, or try out new recipes in Karen's kitchen. Timmy loved these visits. He would bombard Lisa with questions about her travels and work, soaking up every bit of knowledge she shared. Lisa, in turn, was captivated by Timmy's curiosity and kind heart. She frequently brought him books on subjects he was passionate about, nurturing his love for learning. Karen watched their bond grow with a mix of joy and gratitude. She saw how Lisa's influence was shaping Timmy, encouraging him to dream big and work hard. But more than that, she found in Lisa a true friend, someone she could trust, laugh with, and lean on during tough times. One sunny Saturday, as they sat on the porch sipping lemonade, Lisa turned to Karen with a gentle smile. "You know," she said, "I never had a family of my own, but being here with you and Timmy feels like home." Karen reached out, clasping Lisa's hand, her eyes misting over. "You are family," she said simply. Timmy, overhearing their conversation, ran over and threw his arms around both of them in a group hug. "Family hug," he shouted, causing all three to burst into laughter. As the days turned into weeks and months, their bond only deepened. They celebrated birthdays together, shared holiday meals, and created countless memories. Lisa was there for Timmy's school plays and science fairs, cheering him on from the audience. And when Karen needed advice or just a listening ear, Lisa was always just a phone call away. The day of the grand opening arrived, and the whole town buzzed with excitement. The Timmy Johnson Community Center stood proudly at the heart of the neighborhood. Its freshly painted walls gleamed in the morning sun, with colorful balloons and streamers adorning the entrance, welcoming visitors to this new beacon of hope and unity. Timmy, Karen, and Lisa stood near the front doors, greeting the guests as they arrived. Timmy's eyes were wide with awe as he watched the crowd fill the building that bore his name. He tugged at his mother's sleeve, his voice filled with wonder. "Mom, do you believe all of this? All these people are here because of what we've done." Karen looked at her son, her heart swelling with pride. "That's right, sweetheart. Your kindness started all of this." As more people arrived, the atmosphere became festive. Children ran and played on the new playground equipment, while adults chatted animatedly, exploring the various rooms and facilities within the center. The day was a celebration of their hard work and a testament to the impact of their shared dreams. Mayor Thompson ascended the podium set up in front of the building. Clearing his throat, he commanded the crowd's attention as they fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice resonating through the speakers, "today we celebrate not just the opening of a new building, but the spirit of kindness and community that made this possible." He continued, recounting Timmy's brave act at the cafe and how it led to this moment. As he spoke, Timmy felt his cheeks flush with a mix of embarrassment and pride. Lisa then took the stage, her eyes sparkling with emotion. "When I witnessed Timmy's act of kindness that day, I knew I had to do something special," she said. "This center is more than just a building. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we stand up for what's right and support each other." She gestured for Timmy and Karen to join her on stage. As they walked forward, the crowd erupted into applause. Timmy was deeply moved by the outpouring of love and support surrounding him. Lisa handed Timmy a large pair of ceremonial scissors. "Would you do us the honor?" she asked with a warm smile. With trembling hands, Timmy approached the red ribbon stretched across the entrance. He took a deep breath, scanned the sea of smiling faces and cut the ribbon. As it fluttered to the ground, the crowd's cheers grew louder. Timmy's smile radiated pride, his eyes glistening with unshed tears of joy. Lisa placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, offering a comforting squeeze. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lisa announced, her voice rising above the excited murmurs, "I declare the Timmy Johnson Community Center officially open." The doors swung wide, inviting everyone inside. Timmy, Karen, and Lisa led the way into the welcoming, sunlit lobby. The walls were adorned with colorful murals depicting scenes of people helping one another, a visual representation of the center's mission. As they toured the various rooms, Timmy marveled at the array of activities and services the center would offer. There was a tutoring room filled with books and computers, a spacious gym for sports and exercise classes, and even a community kitchen where cooking classes would be held. In the main hall, a banner proudly proclaimed, "Kindness and Equality for All." Timmy read aloud, his voice filled with admiration. "This is what this place is all about," he said. Lisa nodded, her eyes shining. "Exactly, Timmy. This center is dedicated to fostering the same values you demonstrated that day at the cafe. We want to teach everyone the importance of kindness and treating others equally, regardless of our differences." Karen wiped a tear from her eye, overwhelmed by the impact her son's actions had made. "I can't believe how much good has come from one small act of kindness," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. As they continued their tour, community members approached Timmy, shaking his hand and thanking him for inspiring this wonderful new addition to their city. Timmy felt a warm glow spreading through his chest, realizing how his bravery had touched so many lives. The grand opening was more than just the unveiling of a new building. It was the beginning of a movement, a commitment to fostering a community built on compassion and respect. As Timmy looked around at the smiling faces and bustling activity, he knew this was just the start of something truly special. When the tour concluded, The crowd gathered in the main hall for the final part of the opening ceremony. Timmy felt a flutter of nervousness in his stomach as he approached the podium. Lisa gave him an encouraging nod, and Karen squeezed his hand before he stepped up to the microphone. Timmy took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the sea of friendly faces before him. His voice, initially soft, grew stronger with each word as he began his speech. "Thank you all for coming today," Timmy said, his words clear and heartfelt. "I never imagined that standing up for what's right would lead to all this, but I'm so happy it did." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "This community center isn't just about me, it's about all of us. It's about the kind of world we want to live in, a world where everyone is treated with kindness and respect." Timmy's voice wavered slightly as he continued. "I've learned from my mom that it's important to help others and speak up when something isn't right. And now, thanks to Lisa's generosity, we have this amazing place where we can all learn to be more kind and understanding." The audience listened intently, many nodding in agreement and some wiping away tears, touched by the sincerity of the young boy's words. "I hope this center becomes a place where people from all backgrounds can come together," Timmy said, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Where we can learn from each other, help each other, and make our community even stronger." He gazed directly at the crowd, his voice full of determination. "I dream of a future where no one feels left out or treated unfairly, where we celebrate our differences instead of letting them divide us. I believe this center is a big step toward making that dream a reality." As Timmy concluded his speech, the hall erupted into applause. People stood up, cheering and celebrating. Karen wiped tears from her eyes, overwhelmed with pride for her son, while Lisa smiled, knowing her investment in Timmy and the community had been worthwhile. The audience's reaction showed just how deeply Timmy's words had touched them. His simple yet powerful message of kindness and equality resonated with everyone present, inspiring them to carry this spirit of compassion beyond the walls of the new community center. The community center quickly became a bustling hub of activity, breathing new life into the neighborhood. From the moment its doors opened, it was clear that this place was more than just a building, it was the heart of the community. Every day, the center buzzed with the chatter of children, the laughter of families, and the warmth of new friendships. Timmy and Karen were frequent visitors, always eager to lend a hand or participate in various programs. The most popular offerings included the after-school tutoring program, where children from all backgrounds gathered in brightly decorated study rooms. Volunteers helped them with their homework and encouraged their academic pursuits. Timmy, remembering his own struggles in school, often joined in to assist younger kids with their math problems. The center also hosted a food bank, which quickly became a lifeline for many needy families. Karen coordinated with local supermarkets and restaurants to ensure a steady supply of nutritious food. The gratitude in the eyes of those receiving assistance was a constant reminder of the impact they were making. On weekends, the community center transformed into a cultural exchange hub. Families of different backgrounds took turns hosting cultural days, sharing their traditions, food, and stories. The aroma of diverse cuisines filled the air as people eagerly sampled dishes from around the world. These events fostered understanding and broke down barriers, just as Timmy had hoped. The center also offered professional training workshops and curriculum-based classes, empowering adults to improve their job prospects. Many participants found new hope and confidence as they gained valuable skills. For the senior members of the community, the center provided a place to socialize and stay active. Yoga classes for seniors and book clubs became popular, combating loneliness and promoting mental well-being among the elderly. As the weeks passed, the center's impact became increasingly evident. Neighbors who had once been strangers now greeted each other warmly on the streets. Children from different schools formed lasting friendships. The sense of unity that Timmy had dreamed of was slowly but surely becoming a reality. Timmy and Karen remained constant presences at the community center, their dedication and enthusiasm inspiring others to get involved. Each week, they took time from their busy schedules to volunteer, finding their own unique ways to contribute. Karen, drawing on her experience from Lisa's organization, took charge of managing the food bank. She coordinated with local businesses, organized drives, and led a team of volunteers. Her warm smile and kind words made everyone feel welcome, whether they were there to help or to receive assistance. "Remember, we're all part of the same community," Karen would say with compassionate eyes. "Today we might be helping, but tomorrow we might need help ourselves. That's why we're here for each other." As Timmy entered his teenage years, he threw himself into the after-school tutoring program. He remembered well the challenges of schoolwork and was determined to make a difference. His patience and encouragement helped many struggling students improve their grades and boost their confidence. One day, as Timmy was assisting a young girl with her math homework, he noticed her growing frustration. "Hey, it's okay," he said gently. "Math was tough for me too, but you know what? We'll figure it out together." The girl looked up at him, her eyes beginning to sparkle with a glimmer of hope. "Really? You had trouble with math too?" Timmy nodded, a reassuring smile spreading across his face. "Yes, but I didn't give up, and neither will you. We'll take it one step at a time." As they worked through the problems together, the girl's furrowed brow gradually softened into a triumphant smile. Moments like these made all his efforts worthwhile. Beyond their regular volunteering, Timmy and Karen also played key roles in organizing special events at the center. They helped coordinate community cleanup days, health fairs, and cultural festivals. Their enthusiasm was infectious, drawing more and more people to participate in the center's activities. During one particularly bustling weekend, as they were preparing for a multicultural food festival, Karen paused to watch Timmy. He was laughing with a group of volunteers, decorating the main hall with flags from around the world. Karen's heart swelled with pride at the young man he had become. "Are you all right, Mom?" Timmy asked, noticing her gaze. Karen smiled, her eyes misty with emotion. "I'm so proud of you, dear. Look at all the good we're doing here." Timmy draped an arm around her shoulders. "We're doing this together, Mom, me, you, and everyone here. That's what makes it special." As the months passed, the positive impact of Timmy's act of kindness and Lisa's generosity rippled through the community, inspiring countless others to stand up for what's right. The community center had become a beacon of hope and unity, drawing people from all walks of life. Stories of small acts of kindness began circulating around town. Neighbors helping each other with yard work, strangers paying for one another's groceries, and local businesses offering discounts to those in need. The spirit of compassion that Timmy had ignited seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. On a sunny afternoon, as Timmy and Karen were leaving the community center after a busy day of volunteering, they noticed a group of teenagers gathered around a bulletin board. Curious, they approached to see what had caught their attention. The board was covered with colorful flyers announcing various community initiatives. There were posters for a new mentorship program, sign-up sheets for neighborhood cleanup teams, and announcements for cultural exchange events. But what stood out most was a large banner in the center that read, "Be the Change, inspired by Timmy." Karen's eyes filled with tears of pride as she saw the impact her son's actions had made. Timmy, feeling a mix of embarrassment and joy, simply stood there taking it all in. A young woman from the group turned and recognized Timmy. Her face lit up with excitement. "Oh my gosh, it's you," she exclaimed. "You're the reason I started volunteering here. Your story made me realize that even kids like us can make a difference." Timmy's heart warmed at her words. "That's amazing," he said, touched. "What kind of volunteering do you do?" The girl beamed with pride as she explained how she and her friends had started a buddy system for new students at their school, helping them feel welcome and included. "We wanted to do something to stop bullying," she said, "just like you stood up to that mean guy at the cafe." As they spoke, more people gathered around, each sharing their own stories of how they had been inspired to take action in their community. An elderly man spoke about organizing a neighborhood watch to keep his streets safe. A middle-aged woman described how she started a community garden to provide fresh produce for the food bank. As winter approached, the community center buzzed with activity. Volunteers hung twinkling lights and festive decorations, transforming the space into a cozy, inviting holiday haven. The center had become more than just a building, it was a vibrant testament to the power of kindness and community. Timmy and Karen's dedication continued to inspire others, and the impact of their efforts reached far beyond the walls of the center. The sense of unity and compassion that Timmy had sparked was a living, breathing force, touching lives and creating a ripple effect of goodwill that promised to grow even stronger in the years to come. Timmy, Karen, and Lisa had planned a special celebration to bring everyone together for the night of the event. The main hall of the community center was filled with laughter and the warm aroma of hot chocolate. Families from every corner of the city gathered, their faces glowing with joy and anticipation. Timmy stood near the entrance, greeting guests with a radiant smile and a cheerful, "Happy Holidays." Karen watched her son with immense pride, her heart swelling at how much he had grown. She caught Lisa's eye from across the room, and they shared a knowing glance. This moment was the culmination of everything they had worked for over the past year. As the evening unfolded, the hall resonated with the sounds of Christmas carols and the hum of happy conversations. Children played in one corner, their laughter mingling with the chatter of adults exchanging stories and well wishes in another. The sense of community and unity was tangible. Timmy wove through the crowd, stopping to chat with old friends and new acquaintances. He paused to help a younger child reach a cookie on a high table and then laughed when he was pulled into an impromptu dance by a group of elderly ladies. Karen and Lisa stood side by side watching the scene with smiles. "I never imagined our lives could change so much in just 1 year," Karen said softly, her voice tinged with awe. Lisa nodded, her eyes shining with emotion. "It's amazing what a single act of kindness can achieve." As the night drew to a close, Timmy, Karen, and Lisa gathered at the center of the room. Timmy cleared his throat and the crowd fell silent. "I just want to say thank you," he began, his voice clear and confident. "Thank you to everyone here for making our community so special. A year ago, I never could have imagined all of this. But now, looking around at all of you, I can't imagine it any other way." The room erupted into applause, and Timmy felt his mother's arm wrap around his shoulders. Lisa joined them, and soon they were surrounded by friends and neighbors, all sharing hugs and words of gratitude. The warmth of the evening was not just from the hot chocolate but from the deep sense of connection and accomplishment that filled the air. The celebration was a testament to the transformative power of kindness and community spirit, a night where the fruits of their hard work were celebrated, and the bonds of their collective efforts were solidified. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment below, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. See you in the next video.